My precious child, there are two voices speaking to you at this very moment. One of them is loud. It fills the room. It presses against the walls of your thoughts and demands your full attention with urgency and alarm, and an endless list of things that could go wrong. That voice is anxiety, and it has been talking to you for so long that you have mistaken its volume for authority. You have come to believe that the loudest voice must be the truest voice. But here's something I need you to understand, and I need you to let this reach deeper than the surface of your mind. Peace and anxiety have been standing side by side in your life this entire time. They coexist. They share the same space. The difference is not that one is present and the other is absent. The difference is which one you have been listening to. And you, my child, have been listening to the wrong one. Not because you are foolish, not because you lack faith, but because anxiety shouts and peace whispers, and in a world full of noise, the whisper gets buried. The peace you have been searching for is not somewhere far away, waiting for you to find it. It has been right beside you all along, speaking in a voice so steady and so calm that the chaos drowned it out. But it never stopped speaking. Not once. Do you feel it? Maybe not yet. Maybe the anxiety is still loud, still pressing at the edges of your thoughts, still waking you before the rest of the world stirs. But what you feel and what is true are not always the same thing. The sun does not cease to exist simply because clouds cover it. The river does not stop flowing simply because a storm has muddied its surface. And my peace does not cease to be yours simply because fear has been speaking more loudly than anything else lately. I want you to stop for a moment. Not to fix anything. Not to figure anything out. Simply to breathe and to listen. Because I have something to say to you that I do not want you to miss. What I am about to share with you has the power to change the way you move through every hour that remains in this day and in every day that follows. My peace is not a reward for those who have managed to remain calm. It is not reserved for the spiritually mature or the emotionally steady. It is not given only to those who have stopped worrying. My peace is a gift, freely offered, flowing outward from my nature like water flowing from a spring, and it is already designated for you. You have been fighting anxiety for longer than you should have had to fight it alone. There have been stretches of time when the tightness in your chest became so familiar that you stopped noticing it was even there. You learned to carry it. You learned to function around it. You got very skilled at appearing fine on the outside while the inside was anything but fine. People would ask how you were doing and you would say fine, good, hanging in there. And none of those answers were entirely true. But you did not know how to explain the real answer without making everyone uncomfortable. So you kept it tucked away, that quiet hum of worry that never fully stopped. My eyes have been upon you through all of it. Nothing about what you have been carrying has been invisible to me. Not the sleepless stretches in the dark when your mind refused to be quiet. Not the way anxiety colored even the good moments, making you feel like something was about to go wrong even when everything seemed okay. Not the exhaustion of trying to keep your thoughts in order when they kept pulling in directions you did not want them to go. My gaze has rested on you through every single one of those moments, and my heart has not been distant from your struggle. But here is what I need you to understand today, and I need you to really receive this, rather than just read it. The anxiety has been telling you a story about your life that is not accurate. Fear is a very convincing storyteller. It speaks with urgency and specificity. It points to real things, real possibilities, real risks, and it magnifies them until they fill your entire field of vision. And then it tells you that the only appropriate response to what you are seeing is more worry, more vigilance, more mental rehearsal of every possible way things could go wrong. Anxiety tells you that if you stop worrying, you will be caught off guard. It tells you that your peace of mind is the price of your safety. And so you have paid that price over and over, believing that the worry was protecting you, when really it was only exhausting you. What anxiety cannot show you is what I can show you. The view from where I stand is different from the view inside your fear. From where I stand, I can see the full landscape of your life, not just the storm-covered patch you are currently walking through. I can see the ground beneath the storm that is still solid. I can see the other side of the valley you are in, where the terrain levels out and the sky opens up. I can see what this difficulty is doing in your character, in your depth, in your capacity for compassion and wisdom. I can see the resources I have placed along your path that you have not yet discovered. I can see you, whole and held and headed somewhere good, even when everything around you suggests otherwise. And in seeing all of that, I offer you this, my peace, not as a platitude, not as a bumper sticker sentiment, but as a real and transferable gift, the peace that guards your heart and your mind like a soldier standing watch at the gate of a city, protecting what is inside from what comes at it from the outside. There is a river I want to tell you about. Imagine it for a moment, if you are willing. It moves through the lowest places, through valleys, through shadowed gorges, through stretches of land where the sun barely reaches. It does not choose its path by comfort or by beauty. It follows the contours of the earth, going wherever the landscape directs. But here's the thing about that river. Its waters run from a source so deep and so pure that the muddiness of any single storm cannot ultimately change its composition. Tributaries feed into it, rain falls into it, debris floats through it, but the source keeps flowing, keeps purifying, keeps carrying the water forward. My peace is like that river. It runs through the lowest places of your life. It does not ask your circumstances to be beautiful before it arrives. It does not require a clear sky or a smooth path. It moves through the dark valleys precisely because that is where water is most needed. And its source, the spirit that gives it life and keeps it flowing, is deeper than any trouble you will ever face. Let me talk about the storm for a moment, because I think you need to hear this from me directly. When the storm came, and you know which storm I mean, the one that shook the things you had built your sense of security upon, the one that came faster than you expected and hit harder than you were prepared for, you looked up and asked where I was. It is a fair question. It is an honest question. And the honest answer is, I was there. My presence surrounded you even when the winds were at their worst. I did not step away from you when the rain began. I did not wait at a safe distance for the storm to pass and then return to check on you. I was in it with you, as close as the breath in your lungs, as steady as the ground under your feet, even when both of those things felt uncertain. There is a thing that storms do to perception. They narrow your field of awareness. Everything becomes the wind and the rain and the sound of things being broken. The entire universe contracts down to the immediacy of what is happening right now, and it becomes very difficult to remember that the storm is not the whole world. It is not even the whole sky. The sun is still there, above the cloud layer. The still air is still there, at a different altitude. And I am still there, in the middle of it all, arms around you in a way that does not always feel dramatic or visible, but is absolutely real. In the storm, something was given to you that is harder to receive in the calm. Endurance, depth, the kind of faith that cannot be shaken because it has already been tested and found to hold. You may not feel like those are gifts right now. You may feel primarily like you have been through something difficult, and you are tired, and you would like some relief. That is a completely understandable response. But I want you to also know that the character being formed in you through the difficult places has a substance and a weight to it that could not have been developed any other way. You are not the same person you were before the storm. In some ways, you are less. Some things have been stripped away. But in the ways that matter most, you are more. And I see that more very clearly, even when you cannot. The calm that comes from my spirit is not the calm of someone who has removed themselves from difficulty. It is not the calm of someone who is pretending the difficulty is not real. It is the calm of someone who knows something that changes everything about how the difficulty is received. It is the calm of knowing that the one who holds the storm in his hand is also the one who holds your hand. That the one who set the boundaries of the sea also set the boundaries of what the enemy can do to you. That the one who speaks and the wind obeys is speaking right now, speaking peace over your life, speaking protection over your mind, speaking a future into your present that your fear cannot see but your faith can begin to sense. The calm I give you is not passive. It is not the calm of resignation, of giving up, of ceasing to care what happens. It is the calm of trust, which is actually a very active and courageous thing. To be calm in the storm is not weakness. It is the evidence of an internal anchor, something deep and fixed that does not move even when everything on the surface is in motion. That anchor is my peace, already planted in you, already at work, holding you steady, even in the moments when you feel anything but steady. Your anxiety does not have to be in charge. That is one of the things I want to make very clear to you. The presence of anxiety does not mean you must obey its directives. Anxiety comes to you with a very specific instruction. Worry. Think about the worst. Rehearse the catastrophe. Keep your guard up. Never rest. But you do not have to follow those instructions. There is another voice available to you, a quieter voice, not because it is weaker, but because it has no need to shout, the voice of peace, my voice, speaking in the depths of your spirit and saying, rest, trust, I have this. You are held. The discipline of choosing that voice over the voice of anxiety is one of the great spiritual practices of human life. It does not come naturally to a mind that has been conditioned by difficulty and disappointment to expect more difficulty and more disappointment. It requires intentionality. It requires the willingness to redirect your attention when your thoughts begin pulling you toward the catastrophe your fear is constructing. It requires returning, again and again, to what you know to be true about me, about my character, about my promises, even when the feelings are not cooperating and the circumstances are not yet aligned with what you are believing. And I want to honor that practice in you. Every time you chose to bring your worry to me, rather than drowning in it alone, that was an act of faith. Every time you caught yourself spiraling and decided to pray instead, that was courage. Every time you said, I trust you, even though I do not understand this, you were doing something profound, something that formed a deeper groove of peace in your soul that will carry you further and further as time goes on. Do you know what it means to have a peace that surpasses understanding? It is worth sitting with that for a while, not just reading past it, but actually letting it land. Understanding is the thing your mind reaches for in the middle of difficulty. It wants to know why. It wants to see the logic. It wants to trace the path from where you are to somewhere better and verify each step before taking it. Understanding says, I will be at peace once I know how this is going to work out. Understanding wants explanations before it grants rest. But the peace I give does not wait for explanations. It arrives before the answers do. It settles in your heart in the middle of the uncertainty, in the middle of the not yet knowing, in the middle of the question that has no answer yet. It surpasses understanding because it operates on a different level entirely. It is not a product of your reasoning. It cannot be manufactured by your intellect. It is given directly from me to you through the Spirit that lives in you, as a real and tangible experience of calm that your mind cannot fully explain, but your heart absolutely recognizes. You have felt this before, even if only briefly. There have been moments in the middle of hard things when, for no logical reason you could identify, a stillness settled over you. A moment when the chaos was still present, but you were strangely not in the grip of it. A moment when you breathed differently, when the tightness in your chest eased, when something deep inside you said it is going to be okay, not because the circumstances had changed, but because something had shifted in your awareness of my presence. That was my peace. That was a taste of what I am inviting you into fully. I give peace as the world cannot give. This is important to understand, because the world has its own versions of peace, and many of them are counterfeits that seem to satisfy for a season, but ultimately leave you more restless than before. The world offers distraction. Go somewhere, buy something, experience something, do something that pulls your attention away from the thing that is troubling you. And the peace of distraction lasts for exactly as long as the distraction lasts. And then the anxiety rushes back, sometimes with even greater intensity because you have been ignoring it. The world offers control. Figure out the solution. Get more information. Make a better plan. Eliminate the variable that is causing uncertainty. and the peace of control lasts for as long as you feel in control, which is never fully, because there are always variables you cannot govern, always unknowns at the edge of your vision. The world also offers certainty. If you can just get to the point where you know the outcome, you will be at peace. But certainty about the future is not available to human beings, and waiting for it as the condition of your peace means your peace will always be deferred, always dependent on a resolution that may not come as quickly as you need it. What I offer is different from all of these. My peace does not depend on distraction or control or certainty. It does not require the problem to go away first. It settles in the middle of the problem and says, even here, even now, even with all of this still unresolved, you are okay. You are held. The one who made you is watching over you. The outcome is in hands that are far more capable than yours. You can breathe now. You can rest. Let me speak to your mind specifically for a moment, because I know that your mind has been the primary battleground. The thoughts have been relentless. They have run on a loop, cycling through the same fears, the same possibilities, the same worst-case scenarios, in a way that feels involuntary, like a machine you cannot turn off. You have tried to stop the thoughts, and the trying has sometimes made them louder. You have tried to reason yourself out of anxiety, and while logic can help, it can also become another wheel for the anxious mind to spin on. You have tried to ignore the thoughts, and they have found ways to push back in. The protection of your mind is something I take very seriously. I speak of it in terms of a guard, a sentinel posted at the gate. The peace I give is not passive. It actively stands watch over the entrance to your thoughts, evaluating what is allowed to take up residence and what is to be turned away. When you bring your concerns to me, when you pray and release rather than carrying alone, you are inviting this guard to take up his post. You are activating the very mechanism I designed to protect your inner life from the assault of anxiety and fear. Your mind was not designed to carry what it has been carrying. It was designed to process the present, to engage with reality as it is, not to run endless simulations of futures that have not happened and may never happen. Anxiety hijacks the mind's capacity for forward thinking and turns it into a machine for dread, running projections of the worst possibilities over and over in a loop that serves no productive purpose and causes tremendous damage to your peace, your body, and your ability to be fully present in the life you actually have. I designed your mind to be still when it has brought its burdens to me. Not vacant, not absent, but still the way a lake is still when the wind stops. Still and clear. Able to reflect what is true. Able to receive what I want to show you. Able to rest in the knowledge that the things beyond your control are not beyond mine. This is what the guard of peace makes possible. Not an absence of thought, but a right ordering of thought. Not the elimination of all concern, but a placing of concern in hands that can actually do something with it, which frees your mind to be present, to be grateful, to be attentive to the beauty and the goodness that is available to you even in difficult seasons. Release your burden before me. Let me say that again, not because you missed it the first time, but because it needs to be said more than once. Because we human beings are very skilled at picking back up what we have laid down. Release your burden before me. The image I want you to hold is of someone setting down a very heavy backpack. You have been hiking with this thing strapped to your shoulders for a long time. The straps have left marks. Your posture has adjusted around the weight of it. Your pace has slowed. Your enjoyment of the terrain you are walking through has been diminished because so much of your energy is going into carrying the load. And I am standing here at the edge of the path, saying, take it off. Put it down here. You do not need to carry this. The putting down is not a one-time event. That is important to understand. It is a practice, a returning, a daily, sometimes hourly act of surrender. You lay it down, and then something happens that makes you pick it back up again. And you notice that you are carrying it again, and you bring it back and lay it down again. This is not failure. This is faith in process. This is how trust deepens. Not in one grand gesture, but in the thousands of small returns, the thousands of small moments of choosing surrender over self-sufficiency. There is something I want to ask you. What would your life look like if you actually let my peace be the baseline of your inner world? Not something you reach for in emergencies. Not something you experience briefly in worship and then lose as soon as the pressures of ordinary life reassert themselves. But the constant underlying tone of your interior life, the way a river keeps flowing under the ice of winter, the way roots keep drinking even in drought. What would you be like if peace were the ground you walked on rather than something you were always trying to get back to? I think you would be more present. When anxiety consumes your attention, it pulls you out of the moment you are actually in and lodges you somewhere in a feared future. Worry is fundamentally a denial of the present. It says the present is not where I should be. I should be rehearsing the disaster. But when peace is your ground, you can actually be here. You can taste the food in front of you. You can hear the voice of someone you love without half your mind being elsewhere. You can notice the light on the water, the sound of rain on the roof, the warmth of a cup held in both hands, the small and exquisite gifts scattered through the ordinary hours of a day. I think you would also be more courageous. Anxiety masquerades as caution, but it often actually prevents you from taking the steps you are meant to take. When fear is narrating your life, every new direction looks like a cliff. Every change feels like danger. Every open door raises the question of what might be waiting on the other side. Peace does not eliminate the uncertainty of the unknown, but it gives you a different relationship to uncertainty. It says, I do not know what is ahead, and that is okay, because the one who is with me does know, and his track record with my life is one of faithfulness and care. I think you would also be more compassionate. People who are drowning in their own anxiety have very little left over for others, not because they are selfish, but because survival takes all available resources. When you are no longer using every interior reserve just to manage your own fear, you have the capacity to look outward and see the people around you with real attention and real love. Peace creates spaciousness. Anxiety creates constriction. Spaciousness is where love can move. Draw near to me. Let the distance between us close. Not because I have moved away, never that, but because anxiety creates a kind of internal isolation that makes my nearness harder to feel. When you are in the grip of fear, everything narrows, the world shrinks. The awareness of my presence competes with the noise of your own alarm, and so the invitation is always the same. Draw near, come back. Remember that I am here, right here, not in a distant heaven, but present with you in the room where you are sitting, in the thoughts that are running through your mind, in the breath that fills your lungs. My spirit is not far from you. I am as close as your next inhale. There is a practice of stillness that I want to invite you into, not because you have to be still to deserve my peace, but because stillness is the posture in which peace is most easily received. The mind that is constantly moving, constantly producing worry, constantly narrating catastrophe, is like a lake whipped by wind. The peace is there, available, but the surface is too turbulent to reflect it clearly. Stillness allows the water to calm. Stillness allows the deep things to become visible. Stillness allows you to feel what is already true, that you are held, that you are loved, that my peace is already available to you, already present, already real. Be still and know. Those words are an invitation, not a command driven by frustration. Be still and know. Let the knowing happen in the stillness rather than in the noise. Let the truth of who I am settle into you in the quiet. Let the awareness of my presence become more real than the awareness of your fear. This is possible. This is what I am offering you. Not the absence of hard things, but a different relationship to the hard things. One in which my peace is the ground you stand on, and fear is the weather you move through, rather than the other way around. Let me speak to you about trust. Not trust as an abstract concept, not trust as something you believe in intellectually, but trust as a living, practiced orientation of your soul. Trust, in the way I am describing it, is the decision to let me carry what you cannot carry. It is the acknowledgement that your capacity has a limit and mine does not. It is the willingness to say, I have taken this as far as I can take it with my own strength, and now I am releasing it to the one who can actually do something with it. Trust is not the same as certainty. Many people confuse them. Certainty says, I know how this is going to work out, and that is why I am not afraid. Trust says, I do not know how this is going to work out, and that is okay. Because I know the one who does, and I know his character, and his character is enough. Certainty is about outcomes. Trust is about relationship. And a relationship built on trust is far more resilient than a certainty built on favorable circumstances, because circumstances change constantly, and my character does not change at all. You can trust me with this. Whatever this is for you right now, the thing that keeps surfacing when you try to rest, the situation that feels too big or too complex or too far gone for a good outcome, you can trust me with it. Not because I promise to resolve it exactly the way you want it resolved. Not because I guarantee that no hard things are ahead. But because my love for you is not contingent on your circumstances. And my power to work in your life is not limited by what your natural eyes can currently see. My perspective on your situation is different from your perspective, and it has never once been a perspective of abandonment or indifference. Fear tells you that you are alone in this. That is one of the most common and most damaging lies that fear tells. You are alone in this, so you had better figure it out yourself. You are alone in this, so there is no safety net. You are alone in this, so the worst outcome is the most likely outcome, because there is no one capable of intervening. But the truth is the opposite. My presence is with you in this. My hand is in the details of your situation in ways you cannot track. My spirit is interceding for you in ways that go beyond what any human language could articulate. You are not alone. You have never been alone, and the peace that flows from that truth, from the deep knowing of your accompaniment, is a peace that can sustain you through anything. There is an inheritance I want to speak to you about. Not a future inheritance waiting for you in some distant theological reality, but a present inheritance available to you right now. My peace is your inheritance. What is an inheritance? It is something that belongs to you by virtue of your relationship to the one who has given it. You do not earn an inheritance. You do not achieve it. You receive it because of who you are in relationship to the giver. And because you belong to me, because you are my child, the full richness of what is mine is available to you, including the peace that defines my own nature. I am not a God of anxiety. I am not a God of panic or dread or fearful uncertainty. My nature is characterized by absolute peace, because I hold all things in full knowledge, in full power, and in full love. Nothing surprises me. Nothing is beyond my reach. Nothing happens outside the boundaries of my awareness and my ultimate authority. And because my spirit lives in you, that peace is not foreign to your experience. It is already within you. It is already yours. You do not have to travel somewhere to find it. You do not have to achieve a certain level of spiritual maturity before you qualify for it. You already qualify. It is already yours. The invitation is simply to receive what has already been given. Receiving peace is different from acquiring peace. Acquiring suggests effort, pursuit, achievement. Receiving suggests openness, surrender, acceptance. You receive a gift by opening your hands. You receive my peace by opening your heart, by choosing to believe that it is truly available to you, by releasing the grip on all the things you have been trying to control as a substitute for peace, and letting the real thing fill the space that control has been occupying. What does your peace-filled life look like? I want you to imagine it. Not with the imagination of wishful thinking, but with the imagination of faith, which pictures what is possible when it is aligned with what I have promised. In your peace-filled life, you face the same challenges you face now. The peace I offer does not create a challenge-free life, but you face them from a different center. The center holds. The ground beneath you does not shift when the storms come. You feel the wind and the rain. You acknowledge the difficulty. You take the steps that are in front of you to take, but you do it without the added weight of terror, without the crushing exhaustion of carrying the outcome as if it were entirely your responsibility. You do it as a person who knows they are accompanied, guided, and held. In your peace-filled life, your mind has different habits, not perfect habits. Not a mind that never wanders toward worry, but a mind that has learned the posture of return, that knows how to recognize when it has drifted into anxiety territory, and how to bring itself back to the truth. A mind that has developed the reflex of prayer, not formal or elaborate prayer necessarily, but the simple, immediate turning of the heart toward me, the internal lift of the eyes, the quiet acknowledgement that this, whatever this is, does not have to be carried alone. In your peace-filled life, your relationships are different too. You are more present with the people you love. You are less reactive, because peace creates the internal space between stimulus and response that allows you to choose your response rather than simply having it triggered. You are more generous with your attention, your patience, your grace, because you are not depleted by the constant drain of anxiety. You can afford to give because you are receiving so much more than you are able to generate on your own. Let me talk about the water again, because the metaphor runs deep, and I want to stay with it a little longer. Have you ever stood at the edge of a still lake in the early part of the day, when the surface is like glass, and everything around it, every tree and cloud and stretch of sky, is reflected in perfect clarity? There is something almost unbearably beautiful about that kind of stillness. It does not feel like absence. It feels like fullness. The lake is not empty because it is still. It is full, fully itself, fully capable of reflecting what surrounds it. That is the kind of stillness I want to bring to your inner world. Not the stillness of numbness or disconnection. Not the stillness of someone who has given up on feeling. But the rich, receptive stillness of a soul that is at rest in my presence. Fully present, fully alive, fully capable of reflecting the beauty and truth of what surrounds it. A soul that is stilled from anxiety has more capacity, not less. More capacity to love, to notice, to create, to serve, to receive, to give thanks. The waters will be stilled. This is not just metaphor. This is my intention for you. The turbulence in your mind, the churning quality of your thoughts, the inability to simply rest without the worry pulling you back under. I am working on all of that. The same voice that spoke to the sea, the voice that said, "Peace, be still," and the wind and the waves obeyed, that voice is speaking to the storm inside you right now. Peace, be still. You are not too far gone for this kind of peace to reach you. The anxiety has not been going on too long for me to intervene. Your patterns of worry have not become so deeply ingrained that my peace cannot reshape them. There is no duration of struggle, no depth of fear, no length of sleepless anxiety that places you beyond the reach of what I am offering you. My peace does not expire. It is not available only to those who catch it quickly. It is as fresh and as available to you today as it would have been the first time you ever worried about anything. I know the specific thing you are afraid of. I know the shape of your particular fear, the details that your mind circles back to, the question that has no answer yet, the relationship that feels uncertain, the situation that feels unresolvable, the health concern, the financial pressure, the family difficulty, the sense that something is wrong, but you cannot quite identify what. My eyes are upon you in the middle of all of it. Nothing about your specific situation is vague or general to me. You are not a case study. You are a person I know by name, whose life I have been present in from the very beginning, who I am carrying right now with the same attentiveness I have always carried you. And into the middle of that specific, named, detailed situation, I speak this. My peace is greater than your fear. Not equally matched, not just slightly more powerful. Greater. The peace I offer operates at a level that your fear cannot access. Fear lives in the space of possibility, of what might happen. Peace lives in the space of what is true, of what is real, of what has already been established. And what has already been established is this. You are mine. I am with you. I hold all things in my hands. And none of the things you are afraid of can separate you from my love or my care or my intention to bring you through. Face the hours ahead with this as your foundation, not with pretense that everything is easy, not with a spiritual performance of being fine when you are not, but with a genuine and grounded confidence that comes from knowing you are not facing anything alone. The peace that accompanies you is not a wish or a feeling or a positive attitude. It is a reality. It is the presence of my Spirit, settled into you, guarding what enters your mind and your heart, sustaining the quiet current of hope and trust beneath whatever turbulence the day brings. Each time anxiety rises, bring it. That is the practice, not defeat it alone, not suppress it until it goes underground, not reason it away with arguments that feel hollow when fear is loud. Bring it to me. As many times as it rises, bring it that many times. There is no quota. There is no point at which you have brought too many worries, and I have grown impatient with you. Every time you bring it, you are doing exactly what I invited you to do. And every time you release it, however briefly, however imperfectly, you are letting the current of peace do its work. The river does not judge the things it carries. A river receives what the bank releases into it and carries it downstream. Your burdens, released into my care, are carried by a current that knows exactly where to take them. They are not lost. They are not ignored. They are held in hands that can actually manage them, while you are freed to walk lighter along the bank. Walk lighter. That is my invitation to you. Not because your situation is light, not because the things you are navigating are simple or easy, but because you were not designed to carry the weight of the whole situation on your own shoulders. You were designed to walk in partnership with me, in dependence on my strength, in the confident trust that I am working in and through and around every single detail of your life. Carrying the outcome is my job. Walking faithfully in the present is yours. And when you do your part and trust me with mine, something shifts in the quality of your movement through the hours of your life. The Holy Spirit, the one I gave to live within you, is the source of the calm you have been searching for. Not a manufactured calm, not a suppressed emotion, a real, deep, flowing peace that rises from within rather than being imposed from outside. You do not have to go somewhere to find it. You do not have to wait for the right conditions. The source is already within you. The river is already flowing. You only need to stop fighting the current and let it carry you. There is a rest that I am speaking about that is different from sleep, different from the cessation of activity. It is the rest of a soul that has laid its striving down. It is the rest of someone who has stopped trying to control what they were never meant to control. It is the rest of a heart that has come home to the simple, profound truth that it is loved, held, and cared for by someone whose love does not waver and whose power does not have limits. This rest is available to you. It is not earned by getting everything right. It is received by releasing everything you have been gripping with white knuckles and letting your hands open. Open your hands. Let the weight of what you have been holding land in mine. This is not passivity. This is the most courageous act of faith available to a human being. The decision to trust that I am who I say I am, that my love is what I say it is, that my presence is real, and my care is active, and my peace is genuinely available to you right now, in this moment, with everything still unresolved, with everything still uncertain, with the questions still unanswered, and the situation still unclear. My peace, real and deep and unearned, is yours. Receive it. Walk in it. Return to it as many times as the day takes you away from it. It will be here every time you come back. The river does not stop flowing. The spring does not run dry. My peace toward you is a living, active, constant offering, always fresh, always available, always flowing in your direction. There is something I want you to consider about the nature of fear itself, because understanding what fear actually is can change the way you relate to it. Fear is not evil in its origins. I placed in the human heart a capacity for appropriate alertness, for the recognition of genuine danger, for the instinct to protect what matters. That instinct, when it is functioning rightly, is a gift. It keeps you from walking into traffic. It warns you when something is genuinely wrong. It sharpens your attention in moments that require it. The fear response is a part of how I designed the human body to respond to real threats, and in that form, it is not your enemy. But anxiety is something different. Anxiety is what happens when that fear response gets stuck in the on position, when it begins responding to imagined threats as if they were real ones, when it reads uncertainty as danger, and generates alarm signals in the body and the mind for situations that do not actually require emergency responses. Anxiety is the fear mechanism misfiring. And the misfiring has a cause, which is the accumulated experience of things that genuinely were threatening or painful or unpredictable, experiences that trained your nervous system to stay on guard even when the immediate danger has passed. Compassion is my response to all of that. Not frustration, not impatience. Not the expectation that you should simply choose to stop being anxious, and then everything will be fine. When I look at the anxiety you carry, I see a person who has been through real things, who has felt real pain, who has experienced real unpredictability, and whose nervous system learned some protective patterns that once served a purpose and have now outlasted their usefulness. I see someone who needs not judgment, but healing, not criticism, but gentleness, not demands for performance, but an invitation to rest. Healing is the word I want to stay with for a moment. Not healing as an abstract theological concept. Healing is something real and tangible and specific to what you have been through. The places in you that have been conditioned by fear, the places where anxiety has carved its deepest grooves, where the alarm bells ring most readily, where the what-if thoughts first originate. Those places are known to me. They are not hidden. They are not too complicated for me to address. They are not damaged beyond the reach of what my spirit can do in a human heart. The waters of my peace do not only guard the surface, they seep down into the deep places. They get into the roots. The kind of healing I am working in you is not a surface-level calm that exists only when circumstances are favorable. It is a reorientation of the inner landscape, a gradual shift in what your nervous system believes to be true about the world and about my presence in it. As you practice bringing your anxiety to me rather than feeding it, as you practice choosing the truth over the fear when both are speaking at the same time, as you practice returning to stillness when anxiety has pulled you into turbulence, something is reforming beneath the surface. New grooves are being carved. New defaults are being established. The river of peace is slowly but surely reshaping the terrain through which it flows. That process takes time. Be patient with it and with yourself. The depth of healing that I am offering is not the kind of thing that happens in an instant and then is complete. It unfolds. It deepens. It surprises you in moments when you realize that something that would have completely undone you a year ago did not undo you this time. That the alarm bells rang but were quieter. That the recovery was faster. That the peace returned more readily. These are the signs of healing in process, and they are real. Even when the anxiety itself is still present and still difficult. Patience with the process is itself an act of faith. It says, I believe that my God is at work even when I cannot see the immediate result of his work. It says, I trust the direction even when the change feels slow. Impatience with the process often creates its own kind of anxiety. The anxiety of wondering why you are not further along, why the healing is taking longer than you expected, why you still struggle with the same fears that you thought you had already surrendered. And this is where my compassion is particularly important for you to receive. There is no behind. You are exactly where you are in this process, and I am working in you exactly where you are. The timeline is mine to hold, not yours to manage. The morning after a storm is one of the most beautiful things the natural world offers. Have you noticed this? The air after heavy rain has a quality to it that is hard to describe but impossible to miss. Everything is washed. The colors are brighter. The smells are sharper. The light, when it comes through in a way that feels cleaner than usual, as if the storm cleared away something that had been dulling the world. There is a freshness to it, a sense of beginning that is somehow more vivid for having come through the darkness of the storm rather than just arriving in ordinary daylight. Something like that morning after the storm quality is what I am working toward in your inner life. Not the elimination of all storms, because the terrain of a full human life will include more storms. Not because I am punishing you, but because storms are part of how deep things get built. But the quality of the morning after, the freshness, the renewed color, the sense of something having been cleared that had been accumulating, that is available to you. Not just once, not just in a single dramatic moment of breakthrough, but as a recurring experience, a returning lightness, a repeated discovery that I do have new things to offer, and that the difficult stretch does come to an end, and that the air on the other side is genuinely sweeter for having come through rather than around. Let me speak to you about the difference between knowing something and being anchored to it, because there is a distinction that matters very much in your relationship with my peace. You may know many true things about me. You may know that I am with you. You may know that my peace surpasses understanding. You may know that I have promised to guard your heart and mind. But knowing those things and being anchored to those things are not always the same experience. Knowing is cognitive. Anchoring is something deeper, something that holds you when the storm is at its worst, and cognitive knowing feels very far away. The anchor I am speaking of is built through encounter, through the accumulated weight of experiences of my faithfulness, through the memories of the times when I came through for you in ways you could not have arranged for yourself, through the moments when the peace arrived where it had no natural business arriving, through the evidence gathered over years of walking with me that I am who I say I am. Every time you have experienced my peace in the middle of difficulty, that experience became a link in the anchor chain. Every testimony of my faithfulness is another link. The chain gets heavier. The anchor gets more set. And when the next storm comes, the anchor holds with a security that is rooted not just in belief, but in the lived history of your relationship with me. Build that anchor, not by striving for it, but by receiving, by staying present to the moments when my peace shows up in unexpected ways, by remembering them, by returning to them when anxiety suggests I have been absent. My faithfulness in the past is one of the most powerful arguments against the fear of what is ahead. The same God who has brought you through every previous difficulty is the one who accompanies you into whatever comes next. The same peace that has surprised you before by arriving in impossible circumstances is available to arrive again. Let me speak directly to the specific fear you have been most afraid to name, the one that feels too large to bring, too shameful to admit, too close to the thing you most dread to even put into words. You have been carrying that fear very carefully, as if handling something fragile, as if looking at it directly might make it more real, as if naming it might invite it into your life, rather than simply acknowledging that it is already crowding your thoughts. I see it. The weight of your unspoken fear is not invisible to me. The things you cannot say to anyone else, the worst of the what-ifs, the deepest of the dreads, all of it is fully visible to me and fully within the range of my care. Bring that one too, the big one. The one that seems too heavy to lay down because you have been carrying it for so long that you cannot imagine what you would do without the weight of it. There is a strange way in which long-carried fears become familiar, almost companionable in their heaviness. Not comfortable, certainly not, but known. And the unknown of what life would feel like without the weight can feel almost as frightening as the fear itself. That is how deeply this has been woven into your experience of yourself. You can lay it down. The not yet knowing what you are without this fear is not a reason to keep carrying it. You will discover gradually as the weight lifts that you are more yourself without it, not less. The person fear has been crowding out is the person I made you to be, spacious and present and capable of receiving goodness without immediately bracing for its loss. That person is still in there, underneath the accumulated armor of anxiety. My peace creates the conditions in which that person can breathe again. Breathe. Let that simple, physical, immediately available act be a practice of returning. Every breath is an intake of what I have already made available to you. Every exhale is a release of what you are choosing not to hold. This is not a formula for spiritual performance. It is a physical practice of the spiritual reality that receiving and releasing are available to you constantly, in every moment, in the simplest acts of being alive. And in that rhythm of receiving and releasing, there is a peace that you did not manufacture, but that is always present when you choose to participate in it. The river keeps flowing. Let that image hold you. Whatever the hour brings, whatever the news delivers, whatever the mind attempts to construct out of the raw material of uncertainty and fear, the river keeps flowing. My peace toward you is not contingent on any of those variables. It is not affected by the news. It is not diminished by the difficulty. It is not interrupted by the fact that you forgot to feel peaceful for a while and got pulled back into worry. It flows, steady, uninterrupted, always in your direction. Think for a moment about the quality of water in a deep underground spring. Water that has been filtering through layers of rock and mineral for years, sometimes decades, before it surfaces. When it finally emerges, it is cold and clear and pure in a way that surface water rarely is. The filtering process, the long passage through difficulty and stone, is precisely what gives it that quality. You cannot get that kind of water without the depth of passage. And there is something in that image that speaks to what I am doing in you during this extended season of difficulty. The peace I am forming in you is not the surface peace of someone who has simply had things go well for a while. It is the deep spring peace of someone who has been through the pressure and the darkness and the narrowness of hard places, and come out on the other side with something rare and precious and clarifying in their spirit. That kind of peace has weight to it. It has credibility. When you speak from that peace to someone else who is suffering, they feel the realness of it. They know they are not hearing borrowed words or theoretical comfort. They are hearing from someone who has been in the ground and come through. And that is the kind of witness that actually reaches people. So even in the difficulty, even in the sustained season of anxiety that has been so tiring to navigate, there is something being formed that has real value. Not just for your own journey, but for what you will be able to give to the people around you who need the kind of peace you are learning how to receive. Your suffering is not wasted. Your long season of learning to trust in the dark is not without purpose. It is doing something in you that easier seasons cannot do, and it is making you into someone that harder-traveled people will be able to find comfort in. The spring emerges. The water clears. The pressure and the narrowness of the underground passage gives way to the open air and the light. And what comes out is something that took a long time to form, but is now available to refresh and sustain whoever encounters it. That is the kind of person I am making you into. Not the kind of person who always has easy answers. Not the kind of person who has never known what it is to struggle. The kind of person whose peace has been tested and found to hold, whose trust has been put under real pressure and remained, whose words carry the weight of someone who has actually walked with me through difficulty and discovered that I am faithful. Let me also speak to you about what this peace does in your relationships, because anxiety does not stay contained within the interior of one person. It radiates outward. It affects the people you live with and love. When you are carrying sustained anxiety, the people who are close to you feel it, even if you try to shield them from it. They feel the tension in the air. They feel the unpredictability of your reactions when the anxiety spike collides with something ordinary. They feel the distance created when you are so consumed with managing your own interior that there is not much left over for genuine presence with them. And conversely, when peace becomes more consistently your interior reality, that also radiates. The home changes atmosphere. The quality of your attention in conversations changes. The patience you have available for small frustrations increases, not because you are performing better, but because the anxiety drain is no longer consuming so many resources. The people around you benefit from your peace in ways that you may not be able to track explicitly, but that are real and significant. Relationships grow in the soil of peace. Trust deepens when people feel that you are present rather than half elsewhere with your worries. Intimacy expands when the guard that anxiety requires comes down a little. Love is expressed more freely and received more fully when fear is not the underlying filter through which all connection passes. The peace I am giving you is not only for you, though it is certainly for you. It flows outward into the whole ecosystem of your life and relationships, changing the quality of what is possible between you and the people I have placed around you. Your children, if you have them, are learning something from watching how you navigate difficulty and peace. They are absorbing the patterns of response that they will carry into their own adult lives. When they see you bring your anxiety to me, rather than drowning in it alone, when they see you model the posture of trust even in hard circumstances, when they observe that it is possible to face uncertainty without being destroyed by it, they are receiving a gift that will serve them for decades. The peace you inhabit becomes the inheritance you pass forward. It echoes beyond your own life into the lives of those who come after you. There are people in your life who are watching you navigate this difficult season. They may not say anything. They may not overtly acknowledge that they see the faith it is taking for you to keep trusting when trusting is hard. But they see, and what they observe in you is either going to draw them toward faith or push them away from it. When they see that your God is not a distant deity of comfortable circumstances, but a near and present peace giver who sustains you in the actual difficulty, that is a testimony worth more than any well-crafted argument for the existence of God. Your navigated difficulty, held in my peace, is a living apologetic for the reality of my presence. Hold your head up, not in pride or in performance, but in the quiet dignity of someone who knows whose they are. Walk through the doors that open in front of you with the confidence of someone who is accompanied. Face the conversations and the decisions and the ordinary complexities of your days with the steady assurance of someone who has an inner resource that the world cannot see, but that is more real than anything the world offers. The anchor holds even in the storm. This is the testimony I want you to be able to give, not just someday when everything is resolved, but now, in the middle of the unresolved, in the middle of the uncertain, in the middle of the anxiety that has not yet fully receded. My peace is here. It is real. It is working. I am in this with you, steady and faithful, and I am not going anywhere. Consider the way that a lighthouse operates. It does not move. It does not chase the ships that are lost in the storm. It does not go out into the water to wrestle the vessel back on course. It simply stands where it stands, and it shines. Steady and consistent and faithful, through fog and storm and darkness. It keeps its light going, and the ships find their way to it because the light is reliable, because they know where it is, because it has never gone out when they needed it. That is what my peace is in your life, not chasing the storms away, not eliminating the fog, simply shining, steady and sure, from the fixed point of my nature and my love, so that when the storm has done its disorienting work, and you have lost your bearings, and you are not sure which way is home, you can look up and find the light exactly where it has always been. The same direction, the same brightness, the same faithfulness. And you can orient yourself back toward it and let it guide you through whatever water remains between where you are and the safety of the shore. The shore is real. It exists. The difficulty you are navigating right now has another side. The storm does not go on forever. The anxiety that has been so loud in this season will not always be this loud. There are calmer waters ahead, not the false calm of a life with no challenges, but the genuine deepening calm of a soul that has learned more of how to rest in me, that has developed more capacity for trust, that has an anchored chain with more links in it than it had before this season began. The other side of what you are going through is a version of you who knows something that you could only have learned by going through it. The river keeps flowing toward that shore. The lighthouse keeps its light. And I keep my peace available to you, steady and uninterrupted and genuinely greater than your fear, because that is who I am, and because you are mine. And my peace is always, always your inheritance. There is a phrase I want to leave with you, something to carry as a quiet refrain through the hours ahead. Not an incantation, not a formula, but a true thing, a simple anchoring truth. My peace is greater than my fear. Say it slowly. Let the weight of the words land. My peace, the peace of a God who holds all things, who sees all things, who loves with a love that has no edges and no expiration. That peace is greater, not equal to, not barely sufficient, greater. Greater than the fear, greater than the anxiety, greater than the worst-case scenario that fear has been constructing, greater than the uncertainty that has been keeping you up, greater than the thing you most dread. You can walk into the hours ahead with that truth as your shield, not armored against feeling, not insulated from the genuine challenges of your life, but protected at the deepest level, at the level of the soul, where the peace that surpasses understanding makes its home and does its most essential work. There is a conversation I want to have with you about gratitude, because gratitude and peace are more intimately connected than anxiety would have you believe. Anxiety is fundamentally a posture of lack. It sees what is missing, what could go wrong, what has not yet been secured, what remains uncertain. And in seeing primarily from that posture, it makes the landscape of your life look sparse and threatening, even when it is not. Gratitude is the opposite posture. It looks at the same landscape and sees what is present, what has been given, what is real and good and worth receiving with open hands. Gratitude does not require a perfect life to practice. This is important to say, because anxiety will try to tell you that you cannot be grateful until the situation resolves, that thankfulness is only appropriate when things are going well, that you have to earn the right to peace by first getting the circumstances sorted out. None of that is true. Gratitude is available in the middle of the difficulty, precisely because what you are grateful for, my love, my presence, the fact of being held, the reality of breath and life, and the small gifts scattered through even the hardest days, none of those things require favorable circumstances to be real. When you practice gratitude in the middle of anxiety, you are doing something powerful with your attention. You are choosing, deliberately and intentionally, to direct your awareness toward what is true, rather than toward what is feared. You are training your mind to see what the anxiety has been filtering out. And in that seeing, a kind of peace becomes available that is not manufactured or pretended, but genuinely real, the natural response of a heart that has taken honest stock of its actual circumstances and found, underneath and alongside the difficulty, more goodness than fear was willing to acknowledge. Start small. In the middle of the anxious stretch, find one true and good thing. Not a grand theological proclamation, not a performance of happiness you do not feel. One small, true, good thing. The warmth of sunlight on your skin. The fact that you are breathing. A memory of a moment when my care was unmistakable. The existence of someone who loves you. The cup of something warm in your hands. These small things are not distractions from reality. They are part of reality, the part that anxiety has been minimizing. And when you honor them with your attention, even briefly, you are opening a door through which my peace can enter more fully. Peace and gratitude live in the same neighborhood of the soul. Where one grows, the other tends to follow. And both of them grow when you practice them, gently, without pressure, without the demand that you feel differently than you feel right now, simply by bringing your honest attention to what is genuinely true. I am genuinely present. My love for you is genuinely real. The peace I offer is genuinely available. And the life you are living, even in its difficulty, is genuinely worth receiving with gratitude. One more thing before the closing. The peace that I give you is not a passive possession. It is meant to be used, meant to be shared, meant to leak out from your interior into the spaces you inhabit. When peace is your ground, you become a carrier of it. The room you walk into feels different. The conversation you participate in is shaped by a different quality of presence. The home you live in breathes differently when the person at its center has chosen peace over panic, trust over terror, the quiet confidence of my accompaniment over the exhausting self-reliance of trying to manage alone. You affect the atmosphere of every space you enter. Anxiety affects it one way, peace affects it another. And in a world that is saturated with anxiety, in a time when worry has become almost the default register of daily life, the person who has found a genuine alternative, who carries a real and tested peace, is offering something rare and valuable simply by being present. You do not have to say anything to offer that gift. You only have to have received it, and to walk in it, and to let it be visible in the quality of your presence. Receive it, then, for yourself, for the people around you, for the world that is watching whether what you believe is actually making a difference in how you live. Receive the peace that passes understanding, and let it do what only it can do in the landscape of your life. Let it guard your heart, let it settle your mind. Let it be the evidence, quiet and real and unmistakable to the people nearest you, that I am here and I am faithful, and my peace is not theoretical, but genuinely, beautifully available to everyone who comes to me with open hands. The way ahead may still look uncertain. The situation you are navigating may still be unresolved. The question may still be unanswered, but you are accompanied. You are guarded. You are held by the same hands that form the mountains and set the stars in their courses, the hands that have never let go of you, not for a single moment, through every storm you have ever walked through. Those hands hold you still, and in those hands there is peace. Let me tell you something about the geography of your soul that anxiety tends to obscure. There is a place inside you that fear cannot reach, not because you built a wall around it, not because you have been disciplined enough to protect it, but because I placed it there. A core of identity and belonging that is founded not on your performance or your circumstances or your emotional state, but entirely on the unchanging fact of my love for you. Anxiety can cloud the surrounding landscape. It can make the journey feel treacherous and the future feel threatening, but it cannot get inside that center. It cannot touch the deepest thing about who you are, which is that you are mine. When everything else is uncertain, that one thing is not. You are mine. I have called you by name. I have known you before the world knew you existed. I have plans for you that are shaped by my goodness and my wisdom and my perfect knowledge of what you need. No storm can change that. No fear can erase it. No amount of anxiety about the future can alter the fundamental fact that you belong to a God whose love is not subject to revision and whose peace is your rightful inheritance. Settle into that center when the anxiety is loudest. Not by pretending the anxiety is not there, but by going deeper than it. By finding the still place beneath the turbulence and letting it anchor you. The practice of finding that center, of returning to it, of remembering it in the middle of the noise, is the practice of a lifetime, and every return strengthens it, makes it more accessible, makes the path back to it more familiar. You are building a map of your own interior landscape, and the center of that map is the place where my peace lives, steady and sure and always there when you find your way back to it. The seasons turn, the storms pass. The waters, however turbulent they become, eventually grow still again. And in the stillness, when the storm has done its work and moved on, you will find that you are still here, still held, still accompanied, still the recipient of a peace that the storm could not take and the anxiety could not permanently obscure. Still, against all the evidence that fear tried to construct, in the hands of a God who loves you without condition and who has been faithful to you every single day of your life, even and especially on the days when you could not feel it. That faithfulness is the ground you stand on, not the pleasantness of the current circumstances, not the strength of your own faith, not the quality of your prayers or the consistency of your trust. My faithfulness to you is not dependent on any of those things. It exists because it is my nature to be faithful, because my love for you is the kind of love that does not waver when you waver, that does not diminish when you doubt, that does not grow impatient when you are slow to receive what is being offered. I have been faithful to you before you knew what faithfulness meant, and I will be faithful to you long after this present difficulty has become something you look back on from a place of greater peace. Rest in this, not in the resolution that has not yet come, not in the answer that has not yet arrived, not in the circumstance that still awaits change. Rest in this. I am God, and I am yours, and my peace is real, and it is for you, and it is already here. Face this day differently, not with the exhausting performance of having it all together, not with the crushing burden of needing to figure it all out, but with the quiet, steady confidence of someone who knows they are accompanied by a peace that surpasses understanding, guarded by a presence that loves them completely, sustained by a grace that has no conditions attached. You are my precious child. The storms do not change that. The anxiety does not disqualify you from my peace. The fear does not make you less mine. Bring all of it and receive in its place the one thing that the world cannot manufacture and cannot take away. the peace that I alone can give. Amen. If this message touched your heart, share it with someone who needs to hear these words today. There is someone in your life who is struggling with fear and anxiety, someone who needs to be reminded that God's peace is real and available and greater than anything they are facing. Send this to them. Let this be the word they needed to receive. And if these words have been a comfort to you, type Amen in the comments and let others know that God is speaking peace into this place. Subscribe so you never miss a message, and come back whenever you need to hear a word that settles your soul and reminds you that you are held.